Welcome to Center, Maryland. We all know the Colts are back, and we couldn't have two finer members of the Maryland horse breeding and racing community. Bill Boniface and Donnie Miller were the last team in Maryland, Maryland-bred, Maryland-ridden horse here, 1983, Deputed Testamony. Talk to me about what it's like to be a Marylander and win the Preakness.
Well, you know, for having been born and raised in Maryland, much like the horse was, you know, for me, because I came out of a racing family also, my dad was a jockey, so to be able to win the Preakness, particularly the first time out of the gate, was probably as significant for me locally as it would be for most jockeys to win the Derby from around the country.
Sure.
So it was not that I wouldn't want to win the Derby, but I would spend some time down in Kentucky, and I used to tease the trainers down there that the Derby was a prep for the Preakness. Needless to say, that didn't sit too well for those folks down there, but hey.
Well, Billy, there were two big Marylanders that did great things in sport that year. Cal Ripken with the Orioles winning the World Series, and then Donnie right here riding a horse you trained and owned.
Yeah, it was a big year for Baltimore, and still, you know, a lot of people over the years. He passed away at 32 last year, and he's buried on the farm there. But all the years after the Preakness, he really drew an audience. People would come from other states, would come to visit him, and get congratulatory letters and whatnot. It was really a lot of hometown pride in the fact that you know, he was sort of like myself, being a blue-collar guy. He was a blue-collar horse. He was by a stallion that didn't stand in Kentucky for a lot of money, but he was a great one. He was really a great horse. A lot of people don't realize it, but he came back in 1984 and set a track record at Pimlico, a mile 16th and 140 and 4/5. Now, I noticed yesterday on the program at Pimlico that track record still stands.
Right. Wow.
That's been run a lot of times since then. He was such a, you know, he came from the modest background, so he had a hard time getting his respect. But late in his 2-year-old year, he set a track record up at the Meadowlands. In the Play the Palace Stakes, and it was late in the year, and the track was hard, and they said, well, the horse only did it because the track was frozen. Of course, when he won the Preakness, they said, well, the naysayers said, well, he did it because the track was muddy. But then when he came back on a fast racetrack and set a track record that still stands, they couldn't say anything. So the point of the matter was he didn't need any kind of racetrack. He just was a great horse.
Deputed Testamony. Talk to me a little bit about where the name came from.
Well, he's by a horse called Traffic Cop out of a mare named Proof Requested. So I asked the former judge in Bel Air, John Clark, who was a lawyer then, to come up with something with a legal term. And he used the word deputed, which is a legal term. And my spelling's never been very good. I misspelled testimony, so.
I empathize with you. It makes the Google search a little tougher, but the winds don't go anywhere, right? They're right there in your heart. Talk to me, when you're at your level of the sport and the industry of horse breeding, you get to encounter the best in the business and the best in the industry, and they come into your home state. What are their thoughts about Maryland horse racing, Maryland horse breeding? You know, what do you think they think about the Maryland experience when it comes to this sport and this industry?
Horsemen across the country respect Maryland horsemen. There's a lot of heritage here. You know, the first horse that was imported into the States was in 1696, a horse called Bully Rock, like the golf course up here in Harford County. And I lost a big bet on it, but I thought he landed in Havertygrass in Maryland, but he actually made landfall in Jamestown. But then he moved up the coastline because there were more unrecognized meets in Maryland. We had, you know, a lot of hunt meets going on and running races here. And he was 16 years old, but a prolific stallion he was, because he traveled by road, but he bred a lot of mares through Maryland. Subsequently, in 1721, the first horse race was run in Annapolis, right here in Maryland, the first thoroughbred horse race.
Amazing history.
Now, I remind you of this because at that time, people would have you believe that Kentucky's the only place where you can breed a horse, but in 1721, Kentucky was still an open prairie.
Right,
okay?
right.
Then recognized racetrack, the first one was in the mid-1800s at Saratoga, but the next year, the second oldest racetrack in America is right out here at Pimlico.
Wow.
So I mean, we have the history. The thoroughbred is to Maryland like the crab cake or rock fishing, horsemen took horses. You know, I took a horse and won the Michigan Derby, the Ohio Derby. They have a lot of respect for us.